Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Innovation Insights, where we go into the nitty gritty of bringing innovation out of the lab and into the market. Today, I've got with me Devin Thorpe. He runs a very interesting organization, Superpowers for Good. He's an author, just a whole bunch of background on Devin. Devin, why don't you tell people just 30-second elevator pitch on who you are, what you're doing, and why?
Yeah, so I run a business called the SuperCrowd that hosts, among other things, the Superpowers for Good show. And we are all about championing innovation in the impact arena. We're looking to support social entrepreneurs, especially those building businesses that make a difference in the world. I'm thinking the perfect example is Burble, right? Your company and your efforts in Southern California to build that innovation community is another example, right? That's a selfless example, but there's so many good people like that. That's what we're trying to support and do. And we view crowdfunding, investment crowdfunding, as a primary tool we celebrate and encourage. And I'm an active investor in that community. I've made close to 100 investments now. Probably, my goal is to make 50 this year. We're very active. So anyway, excited to be here with you.
Well, I'll tell you, Devin, you're the perfect person to be talking about innovation because you talk to impact founders constantly and you hear their pain. You know their stories. What's the most standout story you've heard in the last couple weeks?
Well, golly, there are so many, but there's a growing community that I'm excited about called the Swan Impact Network. And I got to know the executive director there. He's a guy named Suresh Sundararababu, and he's just a tremendous human being. But what they're doing is they're taking what has been for years a local Texas impact investor network of angel investors and building that into a regional with a goal of becoming a national organization. And it's exciting to see the impact, the difference they're making by growing that community and energizing it, because it takes a certain amount of energy to build a community, foster it, and actually catalyze the flow of capital to the entrepreneurs who need it. So it's exciting to see that.
One of my recent interviews, Devin, was a gentleman named Leo Barb, and he was telling me about one of the things he learned was founders don't do it alone. Be part of a community, get involved in a community. What do you think about that concept, and how can you explain to founders why it's so important to really plug into other groups?
Yeah. I had a conversation with a woman that's a founder just today, and she was explaining that she's raised a lot of money from crowdfunding. In fact, she said to me just a minute ago, she said, someone said to me that crowdfunding is rare and it doesn't really work. And I said, I want to know what planet they're living on because I do not want to go there. But to your point, what she's done to make this work, because her friend that told her that really probably isn't nuts. What that friend had experienced was doing crowdfunding without the benefit of a community, right? If you're trying to do crowdfunding without a community, guess what? It's an uphill battle. And if you don't plug in, right, you're not going to get there. One of the things that my friend has done really well, she started engaging with our community a year ago. And she's been active in our community and participating and learning and growing and sharing. And so she's been able to attract money in a variety of ways. And, quite frankly, she's done this crazy thing called take Devin's advice. And it worked.
Good for her. That's
So,
awesome.
What's been amazing to me about her being willing to take my advice is she's one of the smartest people I know. She's a research scientist and a veterinarian. And I mean, when I talk about smart, we're talking about, the highest order of smart, truly. And yet she's got the humility of a student that's just sucking up information, and it has proven to be a powerful combination for her. She's just crushing it. Yeah, but a key part of that is her willingness to be a part of a community and show up to networking sessions and learn from the other people in the community as well as from me. Yeah, that community is super vital.
Let me ask you this. You raised an important point. I have worked with so many brilliant, brilliant scientists and researchers who have great ideas, and they think that they should run their company and they should do this and they should do that. And so many times they never get their technology to market because they won't let go. What can you say about that?
Every situation is different. So I want to be really careful not to generalize too much.
Right.
But there are clear signs. I talked to a founder a few months ago that runs a I say runs. He is the founder of a business in which he's very highly engaged, multi-million-dollar revenue business growing to the moon. I mean, I think this is a business of hard tech, deep innovation in the AI robot space for farming. Greenfield Robotics is the name of the company. And I was interviewing the founder on my show. As involved and energized and engaged as he is in the business, he hired a CEO that came in to run the business, and that has made a tremendous difference for him. Now, that's not always the right path, but it was really interesting to your point, right? That sometimes the founder, innovator, genius behind something isn't the right person to run it. Finding a partner who can help you and become that leader can be really the winning formula for some businesses.
You're right. I don't want to generalize, but at the same time, there are instances where it would make so much sense and they could actually, these people don't invent things just to invent them. They invent them because they see a need. They want to make an impact. And the best way you can make an impact, in my mind, is to get the technology to market, get it into people's hands that need the technology and, eliminate the hubris and just go ahead and bring on team members that you trust and let them do that. And then you can get back to your passion, which is developing the product and refining it and running the trials or whatever you need to do to get that technology out there. So I appreciate that insight. So Devin, this is a quick, hard-hitting episode. So why don't you come to us with something really strong that every founder should be keeping in the back of their mind about how they can take that next step?
Yeah. Where I sit, one of the things that I have taken away over and over as a key lesson is that there are times when raising capital from venture capitalists and from banks and other sort of traditional sources really gets shut down. Raising capital from the crowd is never entirely off the table. It's always a potential source of capital. Every founder needs to be watching for that window when it may be the best opportunity for them in that cycle. And it really can add tremendous value to an organization to have a whole community of people who've invested enough to support you, never enough to sue you.
Good
That's a
point.
great investor to have, right?
That's a great point. So, Devin, we always put up a slide at the end of the podcast so people can contact you so we don't have to go through any of that stuff. But tell me, if you were to ask this community of innovators, founders, investors, what we could do to help you, what would you like to talk?
The thing I would most appreciate and would value, and I hope you'll all see it as win-win. Subscribe to our newsletter. There's a free subscription option. We deliver at least 6 posts a week to our free subscribers full of rich information, including episodes like the one you did with me last year. I usually do a thought piece on Wednesdays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays are episodes. Saturday, we do the weekly recap. So get a deep dive due diligence report on Friday. So
That's an
lots of great stuff.
excellent ask. I appreciate that. And I am an Impact subscriber. I love all your stuff. I read every newsletter and I
Thank
really
you.
appreciate you coming on and helping us. We just want to grow innovation and you and I have
Yeah.
been so aligned on that topic ever since, we met at your Superpowers for Good Summit, SuperCrowd Summit
Yeah.
in Los Angeles. Just thanks for coming on, and I'm sure this won't be our last conversation. Everybody, check out SuperCrowd and Superpowers for Good. And that's it for Innovation Insights. Thanks, Devin.
Thanks, Jay. Really appreciate the opportunity.